So I'm gonna integrate. Usually, again, I use Anton as my bar sergeant. He kind of inherently he just knows how to put together the AR blindfolded, like he's the judge in Justice. What do you mean? Like, well, he watches NASA's people put together the ones he wants, sees the case momentums he needs, and puts it together in the details. So when you're beating the devil out of it, ZBrush, it kind of looks like this, but different a little bit to put together
Hello, wonderful
some
person. This is
statistical
Anton, and today we're going to be
analyses
talking about
of
this relatively
probabilities
recent
and
study
trajectories
that
in
claims
terms
to
of
have
value
discovered
amongst
another unusual
the
dimly
mass
star,
of
this time dimming
astrophysicists
with very
and
unusual
sometimes
properties,
astrobiologists.
never
At the
before
moment,
seen and
this is
extremely
one of the
difficult to
problems on the
explain.
MCATs that
With the study itself titled
EUG
Mysterious
right
Dust
now.
Emitting Object Orbiting TIC 4007
Okay,
99224. And just like the
Anton is a
discovery
wonderful
of
person.
Tabby's star a few
One
years
of
ago
the
that
amazing.
created a lot of buzz and a lot of really exciting explanations, this particular discovery is also just as interesting. So let's talk
Before
a
we
little
get
bit more
back to
about
that,
what the scientists believe is happening
okay,
here,
hold on.
and talk a little bit more about the star itself. But before we start, I actually wanted to
We'll be
briefly talk
right
about
back to
the
that, in
Tabby
fact.
star and some of the original explanations that most scientists settled on. So we believe that in case of the Tabby
No,
star, the
I'm
most
watching
likely
double tap
explanation
this
for the
already, but there's a
unusual
very important
very large
index I'm
dimming
looking
events
for by
were
doing
either
it.
a collection
And
of
it's two
different
slit
cometary objects, or most likely some sort of a dust field,
cycles
or possibly a
that
combination
run
of both,
like
that when looked at in just the right way from the
well,
location
cycles.
where we are from the solar
Let's
system
see our
would
last
create these unusual
vector
dipping or
positions
dimming
of
events that
views.
sort of
We can
resemble
track
something
views,
really
subject
massive
matter
and seen and really large
terminology,
around the star.
what's catching
But in this case, it's just a
indexes
matter of
mathematically
perspective.
cycles. If you're
This
sticking
dust
to
ring itself
NASA,
is actually pretty
that
far away
this
from the
is the
star.
direct
It's just
terminology.
positioned in
Maybe
such a way
there's
toward us that
something
it
big
looks
moving
like it's
around out
really, really
there,
massive,
lensing.
but it's not. Moreover, further
Again,
investigations
remember I
and
was like
analysis from a couple of years ago actually discovered over
how you
20
could
other
do the
stars
depiction
with
on that.
extremely
Okay,
similar
so
patterns,
again, now that
suggesting
we
that
did that,
this is relatively common across the
hold on.
galaxy. And more importantly, once again confirming that no
Alright,
elements were necessary for working on these
watch
explanations.
later.
In pretty much all of these
Again,
observations,
if the
nothing we
ZBrush
would
had to be
expect
a
from
depicted
typical
model of that there,
megastructure was
yes.
observable from these systems. For example, no infrared light emissions that are expected from, for example, a Dyson sphere, and no specific changes in the stars themselves either.
See?
So the most
Danger noodle.
likely explanation, once again, was the one that was kind of boring.
Well, that was
It involved cometary objects
neat.
and relatively large disks of interplanetary dust that orbited in this system. But this was, of course, the Tabby star and similar objects. Now the scientists have identified something a little bit more extreme. In this case, the object, the star, was dimmed by about 75%.
We'll do that. You're actually
That's way more
listening
than
to
the
that.
Tabby star and all
We'll do
of the
that.
other discoveries. And it's around this star you see right here.
Opening up
that's
in
roughly
the
around 23
Wall
light
Street
years
back when the
from Earth.
operators were still hooking them into things. Walk into the company floor and it looked like this for industrial.
It's close enough for us to be able to observe it with a typical amateur telescope, which means that the scientists in this paper are encouraging
useful.
other amateur astronomers to join in and
Amongst
receive
astronomers, you would find a very specific color. There might be a few tabby stars out there.
comes from the TASS telescope
Call 'em
that's
Sophie.
essentially
Self-star.
looking at various types of stars and their brightness and tries to find these dips.
Can keep the door.
Basically
Last
trying
time a
to
boat
find
showed up
different
here in my
exoplanets out there.
territory, it wasn't
Although
very
in
good.
this case, the scientists used a machine learning algorithm to go through a lot of different data in order to discover unusual dips
The
and
junk
unusual
or the
patterns
Lion
in a
King
lot of
music in
these
the
different
background is
stars that
fantastic.
we didn't see with the TASS telescope. To their surprise, they discovered one dip that sort of was really
That's
difficult to
cycle.
explain.
How are you
It
doing,
looked like this. But normally
Gerald?
we expect the dip to
Gerald?
look
Oh,
this
you're
way.
doing good.
It's first of all
They're
very symmetrical.
watching from,
It's
Panama
also not too
City
extreme.
in,
It doesn't last too
wherever
long.
Panama City
And
is.
normally,
What is
based
going on,
on
my
the
beautiful?
edges of
Welcome
this
back to
dip,
my
That's what they look
you
like
can
in
then
reality.
actually use this
Zero
to
one.
determine what sort
When,
of
when it's still
giant
close together, it
this
acts
dip
like right
had
now.
nothing like that. It lasted a long time. It had a very chaotic, very unusual structure with several micro dips, and there were quite a lot of
Yep, you
variations
have
in
glass.
brightness.
You have
It
computer
suggested some
paper.
kind
You
of
have
a
sand.
major eclipse or
You
some
have
kind of
sand in a
major
box.
passage
That's no
in the middle
people.
of the
You have a
star.
sandbox.
And so by looking
Sandbox,
back at
sandbox.
approximately 6 years of data from this particular star and the observations from other telescopes that looked at the star, the scientists believe that they might have found at least one reasonable explanation.
Portman.
The explanation that still obviously has to be confirmed.
And then, of course,
Domino's
so-
right now, and Little Caesars at the SCP
First
Foundation,
of all,
right?
the star itself is not a single star. This is a binary star system with one of these objects pulsating every 19.7 days. But this object, whatever this object is, seems to be orbiting both of these stars.
Well, if
And
we
what
all
are these
have an
causing
existing
the star to
foundation,
dim
and you
and
don't,
to essentially change its
calculus.
brightness seems to be some sort of an orbiting object that once in a while releases a large
Good
amount
danger
of
noodle.
dust or some sort of cloud that ends up producing these somewhat unpredictable dips that are very different from a typical planetary passage. But due to
He's a
the
benevolent
amount of
master,
dust
though.
emitted
He
that
knows
ends
it's not
up
very
on
good
the
for me to
star,
just grab a hold of
about
him, so he keeps him away
75%.
from me, so I
At
can't
the
touch him.
moment, it's really unclear what sort of an object this is or why it's emitting so much dust to begin with. For example, when calculating the mass of the dust cloud that was detected
Good boom
recently,
viper.
it's been suggested that the total mass is
Good
equivalent
boom viper.
to a typical asteroid like Ida right here that's around 10 to 15 kilometers in diameter. But that's obviously if you were to shred this and to
Meta,
grind
yeah,
it to dust.
meta in the
Now,
log
if this
now.
was
Yeah,
coming from some sort
cancer,
of a
no problem. I could do this all day.
or some sort of an asteroid that's being shred by something,
you're dead.
well, this type of an object, assuming that it's large enough in size, would only possibly survive for a few thousand years before it disappeared completely. However, in the last 6 years,
You like walk into the actual metal beam on that mill there, come across it, grabbing one.
seem to have remained more or less constant. And also because this is a binary star
That
system,
whole universe, you
it's
just
not
took it out,
entirely
kid.
clear
All
which
the
of
lines they
stars
could have
this
been.
object is orbiting, and it could even be possible that it's actually covering up to about 75% of the star, assuming that it's orbiting the smaller of the partners. But despite being
Shall we go all
relatively
the way to this?
consistent and
Guys, let's
repeating
do it.
quite a lot over the last 6 years, there's quite a lot of randomness and a lot of erratic behavior.
Yeah, sometimes 42 doesn't do exactly what I want him to do, or he makes it stars or snakes. And you need it to be an apple orchard paradox, specifically. This apple orchard can be paradox, or how we deal with the math, where you learn that thing, how it gets there, should have the same result that you expect.
Most likely related to some kind of a planetary activity. There are 3 major ideas they propose, with one most likely being the
Unless
likely
you're not dead,
case.
in which means
First
you
of
know
all,
that.
they propose the idea of sublimation, of possibly some sort of a planetary object. Sublimation is, of course, when the solid object suddenly turns into gas, completely bypassing the liquid state. Now, very recently, one of the studies
I didn't realize the M2 had off the iodine reaction had one of those.
The overall structure and overall shape of the surface of this object. Really large formations on Pluto seem to be formed
Cosmic
through
one, though.
sublimation.
Yeah,
And so this particular proposition could maybe work in some cases. So essentially, when you have a really large amount of gas suddenly
Well,
escaping
I did.
and
You see how they hit me? I'd have got him with the iodine sublimation one too, but
But in this case, what we see on
tricked me
Pluto
for a minute.
would be completely minuscule in comparison. We're talking about thousands, if not millions of times more gas at the same time. The second explanation involves some sort of a collision. So some kind of a planetary object is colliding around the star, and all of this is causing huge amounts of gas to then escape into the star system. But here we're not talking about just one collision. It seems to be
I
a
like Tyler
sporadic
Nolan.
bombardment
I
of
should go
this
grab him,
planetary
in
object.
fact.
So I
When
guess
he's
in
bringing
some
out
sense,
Kilo
sort of
with
like what happened
an apprentice.
billions of
Now,
years ago
look,
on planet Earth during the late heavy bombardment. And so
there's
here
a
we're talking
box.
about relatively
He
large
knows
asteroids
exactly
hitting
I
this
was going to
planetary
go
object
to it
and producing
before
relatively large
meeting
clouds,
is
as all this
amazing.
occurs
So
every few years.
then there's a little bit of
Also,
a difference.
even
The
more
first time I
With the
camera
third
getting the
explanation involving some sort of a planetary object,
Gravity.
very likely disturbing some of the protoplanetary dust that's formed around the star and moving it in just the right way to then block the star from our view. But this would also imply that one of the stars is not really a star yet. It's what's known as the pre-main sequence star, which means that it hasn't really started its nuclear reaction yet and has a lot of dust orbiting around it.
Yep,
At
a little
the
furry
moment,
black
though,
hole.
It's not entirely
You
clear
mind.
if this is the case here. And according to the scientists in this paper, the most likely explanation so
I'm
far
sure
is really
I'm
the one
somebody
involving
else's. They
collisions.
imagine I'm all
A
kinds
lot
of
them.
chimeras, quarter
Collisions
horrors.
with relatively
Day
large
force,
minor
implied
planets
Dow.
that are creating so much
Female.
energy on the surface that it ends up blasting off huge amounts of dust,
Dragon named
creating
Marshmallow.
something
Yeah,
similar to what you're about to see right here in the simulation created by the scientists.
See, all this
So in
dragon
this
box
case, all
right
of
here.
this dust that
little dot right
seems
here.
to sort of escape the planet, then
That's
ends
that
up
danger noodle right there.
blocking the
A
star
little
and
in there.
creating dips
And
in
we're
the
like,
surface. And so once again here, from the time the collision occurs,
Right
you
out.
have this one major dip right here, and this is then followed by the minor and predictable dips a little bit later, which to some extent explains what the scientists have recently observed as well, and explains a lot of the other observations from this
From
particular
a snake
system.
perspective,
And of course also exploded the presence of some of the other elements we covered here. But
I'm getting
this
hungry
is just
again.
one first explanation. At the moment, the scientists do suggest that this particular star seems to be in its own category. It could be an example of some sort of a disintegrating planet, or a planet that's been bombarded and has a lot of dust
That's that
extracted
Fortitude
from
stuff
it.
like
But
this.
because
It's coming at
this
my
was just
planet right now
discovered
because
relatively
I was
recently, it'll probably take
playing
years or
Rain Man
possibly
in the
a few
casino
years
while
to
everything's
really
going
explain
off.
what's
Ching,
happening
ching, ching,
in the
ching,
star
ching,
system.
ching, ching.
But whatever explanation we get, it looks like we started 2022 with a really interesting mystery to solve. And so make sure to subscribe if you want to find out what the actual answer for this is, because I'm definitely going to be following this up with another video in the next few months. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you still haven't. Share this with someone who loves learning about space and sciences, and maybe come back tomorrow to learn something else. Maybe support this channel feature by joining the channel membership or by buying the wonderful person.
Well, that'd be about hours. It really is. Here,
Like, and as always, bye-bye.
One other island north of Australia. Look at that. That is an insane snake, and I gotta be real careful because
that should be a dog. Oh, okay. So now what's left in the ring, right?
Bite me right on the face, no problem. So I definitely have to give her respect. And also, she is an older lady, and I don't want to bruise or break her ribs or hurt her or stress her out too much. She's literally
yoga
like a
champ.
6 foot long, plain black snake. Look at that face. Almost looks like a common North American black racer that's harmless. But this snake literally is more venomous, drop for drop, whoop, than a Colette snake from Australia, which is one of the most venomous snakes.
I lightly would bring up Dal right
literally,
now.
out of every
King
family
Kevin,
member
he
of
thinks
the
about Kevin.
Suspectus
Kevin hit the
family,
glass
which
right
is
there.
where this
Like,
plain
yep,
black snake
okay,
comes from,
okay.
she is the most deadly
Just
drop
careful,
for drop in that family.
Alice
So
and
what does
Bob.
it say about her? King
Allison.
Brown, red belly black snakes, Colette snake, none of those compare to her venom. Her venom is insane. And these snakes,
I'm
they
afraid you're
literally
not
come
hitting me.
from Monday.
I'll
Ooh,
feed
see
you
that
mice.
little hood she just flared out? Because they're in that Sudeikis family, they have a little false hood because they are cousins to the cobra.
True, they do.
Ooh, look at that.
Then they're out there,
Gotta
and
be careful in the past. She's literally been down on cameras.
there's a way to do it and a way not to do it. When they're doing it double down like that, you kind of want to like make sure they do that. And then put Tyler next to him and do the crew thing with it. And
She is so upset. Look at that. She's just biting anything
probably
she can
wouldn't
get. Look at
do
this. Do you
it.
see this? Literally just biting the edge. Oh my goodness.
Points.
That just shows you that if she has any split second to get close enough to my skin, she's going to bite me and she's going to inject a deadly, deadly neurotoxic venom. She is all over the place. Let's just get her into this tote right here. Whew, she musked on me a little bit. Last resort is to bite. First, they rather just musk on you, poo on you, make you want to.
for sure, one of the ones that will. Well, we usually talk about it like it's, when I say we, I mean me dealing with any regulations inside of here. So I would be me to do this.
Chicks, frogs, little rodents.
Good to have gunnery bar,
And not
whatever.
common
Okay.
in U.S.
Drill
collections or
sergeant,
really
whatever.
any collections
Gun
around
it.
the world.
He's like,
Not a
well,
lot of people
as an
even know
expert,
about
we
this snake.
put one up on the board and
Treat the snake with the utmost
take it
respect.
out. And
And let's clean that cage. I gotta.
at any rate, me being me in the regulation, call him a hot danger noodle. Right? You knew it was a hot noodle. And bang.
So she can feel nice and comfy.
Thank you.
So let me dump this out.